Welcome back to This Week in Events. I'm Bob Tuvey, and this week, for this episode, I'm joined by Paul Richardson and Mr. Paul Cook.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, Bob.
Um, in light of a post put out by Julia Solaris on LinkedIn that seemed to explore an idea of changing the way the events and conferences happen, I thought it'd be worth having a little chat about where things are now. So the post is from Julius is an inspiration for our chat and for our discussion, but I think it's worth exploring just how things are and what we could do to improve instead of sort of evolve the way things are instead of just revolutionising. Paul, do you want to start with that, Mr. Cook?
Well, of course. Thank you, Bob. So yeah, this was a little post that I saw on LinkedIn coming in the last few days. And basically there was this idea that maybe the networking party that's done at the end of a day of a conference or a trade show, whatever kind of event it happens to be, because it wasn't really stated, is that okay, we're bored, or some people are bored of a networking opportunity that really turns into more of a rave with the DJ that turns up the volume so you can't hear yourself think within minutes. And there's alcohol flowing around, and maybe that's a good sign, or maybe it's not. But anyway, that has been the traditional model for a number of years, and organisers may or may not take into account what's really going on with the delegates today. What do they really want? So this idea that came up from this post that Julius put out was very much about, okay, let's not do it at the end of the day. Why don't we get everybody energized at the start of the day, the start of the following day? And they were calling it something like a coffee rave or something. And it was kind of hard to imagine, but I couldn't work out whether they were saying, all right, we want to take all of the networking and all of the kind of energy that you get at the end of the day and put it into the start of the next day. So it felt a little strange, I'll be honest. And also it
This
felt like, okay, how is this going to get past certain C-suite people that need to sign this idea off? So yeah, let's open it up, boys.
I'm just got this idea of a coffee rave. I mean, how strong is that coffee? That's
Precisely.
frightening. Mr. Richardson, you're eager to say something.
yeah, I just find it's continually amusing that we have evangelists for various things or evangelists who pick up subjects and run with them without seemingly talking to the people who are involved in this. So yeah, speaking to exhibitors, speaking to delegates at conference, whatever the event may be, those in attendance or those attending to support, why are we not asking them, would you prefer your networking event to be at the end of the show or in the morning? Um, I just find as a seasoned exhibitor who's stood on more stands than I care to name, the end of the show is right. Let's review what we've done today, folks. Let's go back to the hotel, have some food, chill out, relax, be comfortable in our own company, and gear ourselves up. Reasonable early night, off to the show tomorrow. Because whatever else you may be thinking from an exhibitor's point of view, it isn't a party, it isn't an entertainment. That's what it gets accused of being in large organisations I've worked for in the past. Oh, you're off on another jolly on an exhibition stand. Yeah, yeah, that's right. I'm going to go and stand in Stavanger and talk to oil industry execs for 3 days while we all freeze our backsides off. It isn't a party, and what you're doing here is that just reinforcing that negative perception that quite a few C-suite people may have of an exhibition or a conference. It should be there. It should be a facility to learn, to generate. If it's a networking event, organize a networking event. I think we're trying to shoehorn too many things into one format and hope it'll hang together. It almost seems like a desperate remedy for something that's a little bit unwell, that doesn't need shooting and reinventing. It just needs giving a helping hand.
Would it actually
So,
work in the UK, that style of thing? Because different cultures appreciate different things. In the UK, I mean, you've just if there's something that you're going to the Excel to look at, yes, Elizabeth line's lovely, you feel probably relaxed. But if you've done a DLR or driven there, the last thing you want to do is go off and do a coffee rave. You're still nursing that cup of tea and just looking for somewhere quiet to unwind from your travel.
Yeah, the DLR, for those listeners that are not London, is the Docklands Light Railway. It's a little way of moving across London. But yeah, you're right, Bob. I think if I knew that there was a morning rave, um, then I don't think I'd be going until the proper education or whatever came online. And I think also there's a really serious element to this, that if we are kind of unhappy with the way that networking is done at the end of the day, well, let's have a look at what people want. To Paul's point, what are they after? Do people want to chill out and have a drink, alcoholic or non? Do they want to do that? Do they want to chat? Do they want to chat where there's a little background music and it's not full on in your face, kind of, you can't hear yourself think? Because that's not very good. But equally, what about, for people that are not wanting to be in crowds all the time, not wanting to be necessarily having to be giving more of their energy into a situation because they may, you know, um, that may not be their style of attending an event. All we've done now is we've just said to those people, look, come in the afternoon because in the morning you've got this stuff going on and it's really not your cup of tea. So we're not being ultra inclusive in this way of thinking. There has to be a better way of saying, okay, look, what do we want? Let's go back to the why. Why are you even putting on this event in the first place? And then let's look at all of the key elements in there and really make them better, make them as good as they can be. This feels like a sticking plaster on somebody that's got a gunshot wound, in my opinion.
You're right. Both of you bring up good points. There are a lot of things that are wrong that don't work now that probably wouldn't be improved by doing a completely different way of organizing your conference or event or trade show. For example, according to a recent Freeman report, the 2025-26 Experience Trends Report, they identify a problem where organizers focus on spectacle and emotions, while attendees are frustrated by confusing floor layouts and the inability to find specific vendors. So again, great idea to revolutionize and change the way things are happening by having a coffee rave, which is a term I quite like, as I keep mentioning it. But there are things that now need fixing that probably wouldn't be fixed by inverting the way a conference happens or a trade show happens.
It does feel a little like fiddling while Rome burns, doesn't it? We keep doing this with exhibitions, and I suppose partly it's to understand what is the core purpose of an exhibition. Is it there to put buyers in touch with sellers in an environment where there's a serendipitous moment where you see something that you hadn't realized you needed, or a colleague needed, or your business wanted to engage with, and you then engage in a conversation? So it's that happening upon something you didn't know was there, as well as seeing those people you wanted to see. I've always found it slightly troublesome in the volume of content that arrives with an exhibition or trade show now, in how many of the people coming in through the doors have no authority or intention to buy from the exhibitors, but are coming purely for the content. I'd love to know what that balance is from those people, and the research should be able to be done. Say, we've got a show and 60% of our people are coming to buy from exhibitors. Oh, okay, that makes it a reasonable proposition for me to come and see. I'd rather see people, some of these thought leaders, coming back to that and investigating that element of an exhibition and saying, how do we improve what we've got, rather than throwing spurious things in, like, let's move our networking session from the evening to the morning. It just seems a crazy thing to be starting to think about. And I don't know whether it's just, is it an attention grabber? Is it, let me throw a cerebral hand grenade into the marketplace and get everybody talking about this. Is it it's almost Trumpian, isn't it, in its nature? Let me throw out a highly contentious statement that everybody's going to jump on, everybody's going to talk about, and therefore that's my brand elevated because now everybody's talking about me and what I said, rather than talking about what I said and is it credible, is it achievable, is it desirable? And I think that's the melting pot we need to start putting things back into. How do we make what we've got work better, and how do we get all the various bits aligned? I still don't think we've got it right.
No, there's still quite a few things that are not quite right. One of them, could it be that the people of kind of the organisers are kind of not quite in tune with what the attendees actually want, what they have turning up for? Because yes, they may not be a buyer, you may not be wanting to spend money on the day, and you may not be the decision maker, but you're the one who influences the decision maker, and you've turned up for a demonstration and for a chat with a human, not over a screen, but face to face, so you can learn more and gain the confidence and the trust of that vendor, which you wouldn't get in any other way.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that well, there's a few things that I really dislike when it comes to trade shows or gatherings or whatever you want to call them. And one is just being able to get around. Where am I going? So I've landed at the thing, I've got my badge, I'm ready to walk across the show floor. Brilliant. But if it's all on an app that says here's a little thing of where you should go, then my focus is just on that and nothing else. And actually I don't do well on those things, even when I'm out walking and it says right, turn left, turn right, and you find you're going wrong. It just doesn't work for me. What I've always liked, is a little floor plan. It can't be too difficult. Just print me off a floor plan. I'm sure that I'm not the only one that would want this. And the same with the program. The program itself, if you've got multiple theatres running a number of sessions over the course of the 2 days or whatever, and that tends to be the way it goes at the moment. We bang a lot of content out there. Just give me a sheet that says, right, this is on, this is on, this is on. So I can see at a glance, just like a TV guide, because that's all I'm after. So that I know where the conflicts are. And you're not asking me to go onto the website to click through, this is Associations Theatre. Okay, right. What? And then I list out what's on there. Then I have to do the same with the brand theatre, etc. Makes no sense. This cannot be part of what the organizer thinks is a really good delegate journey, because it isn't. So either they haven't tested it or they don't care enough, because maybe I'm not really that important, because they're really interested in bringing exhibitors on through their website to pay money buying the exhibition stand, which is great. So I think that needs looking at. Just two things. That's all I want. If I am going for content, I'd like to know what's on. And if I am going to see exhibitors and have conversations with those, just show me where to get, how to do that. Especially when you've got multiple shows that are just differentiated by the color of a carpet. So you don't know whether you're walking in from one show to a different show. All right, your badge is giving you access to all of these things, but it gets very confusing. And I even think that the way that we set up exhibition stands and just give them weird numbers is bizarre. B189. Well, hold on. We seriously got so many exhibitors in here. I don't really kind of believe that. But just give them names. Name a road. Name an aisle. Do something, and then it'll be easier for people to get around. The more difficult that trade show and conference organizers make it for the people to get there, the less they're going to come. It's really straightforward. People want to know how to get around the show floor. They want to know where to get the coffee. They want to know where the loos are, where the cloakroom is. And that's largely it, really, I think. Do we need any more than that? But we do need that. We don't need it all on an app as the only way of being able to get around.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you bring up about the finding your way around and stand numbers. That only works if your show is mostly shell scheme, because you have the stand number on the header boards. So if you know you're looking for stand B26C, if that's a custom build, unless the stand designer has had the forethought to put that on the stand somewhere, you've no idea how to find it other than look for the shell scheme nearest to it and then navigate from there. So it's actually creating problems. Now, whether the commercial benefit is to have more shell scheme than self-build or more self-build than shell scheme, that's a question for the organisers. But that simple point of doing that. Now, I don't know, somewhere in the manual, exhibitor manual, it probably says all stands must display their stand number on their stand and it be clearly visible and yada, yada, yada. Never seen it. And I walk around stands and look at this, and an exhibition stand designer will design the stand to the brief of the principal who is paying for the stand. And if they want it to look like that, that's what it'll get built as, irrespective of what the soft requirements are.
There's one thing I would love to see happen, and I think in the conversation we've had in the past, Paul, which is it has happened. Can we not have the stand numbers? If we're going to stick with stand numbers, can we not have them sort of up in the air so you can see them from a distance? That would really, really help.
A bit like Tesco's, where you have biscuits and you have coffee and you have things. And you're walking down the aisle, and it may sound flippant, but it's not intended to be. To rig something from the roof that just said, this aisle is aisle E, this row is row 10, that's an easy navigation job to do then, isn't it? I guess there's an implied cost in that you've got to have something rigged from the ceiling, so you'd have to have some drop downs to hold those up, or maybe even just a signpost, like the things we've got here stuck out on the moors, finger posts, something that just says, stands up and says, this is this way, this is that way. There's got to be an easier way of giving people a more human way of navigating. I know the industry seems to have an absolute passion for defaulting towards technology being the answer, but sometimes you have to recognize that you're dealing with people, and people behave in a different way to how you want them to behave with the tech.
Speaking of tech, I mean, if you're relying on the app with the tiny little PDF map that really doesn't help on a small screen, it actually relies on a fairly reliable Wi-Fi connection. And you've got anything between 5 to 10,000 attendees at a big trade show, your Wi-Fi is going to be stretched. So it may not actually work at all.
Well, a lot of trade shows, Wi-Fi can be problematic, shall we say, because of that very reason. And if an organizer hasn't paid to boost it, probably put off by just how much some of these things are costed out to them, then yeah, you will be asking people to be on their network and using their data, which is fine if they know that. But I think, the hanging signs, they do have that at some of the trade shows. And it is quite useful, especially where to walk from one end of the show to the next takes about 15 odd minutes. That is very useful to know F is just there and P is further on down, because it does help you do that. So I think that is really useful. Even if they didn't do that for individual aisles, they might want to use that for differentiating between different shows that are co-located, because that could be quite useful to know that you're not going to stumble into the wrong place that you need to be. But I think it's just a bit weird that there's this idea, like you said, Bob, that it all defaults to tech, because not everybody is, even if they are tech savvy, then it doesn't, it's still preference as to how you want to spend your time getting around a place. We can be totally okay on, all right, yeah, I understand how to navigate an app and go through it, but I don't really want to be walking along a trade show floor with my head down because I'm following this thing. To me, that feels a bit rude, and I'm probably missing people that I might have bumped into had it not been for me looking down at this thing. I just think it's just doesn't feel like the way to go, really.
Getting back to the carpets bit, it's all great having color-coded carpets to help you get around, but I think the trend now is to not have carpets because of sustainability issues. So signposts and anything that indicates where you are now and where you need to be would be really helpful.
Well, there's a problem with getting rid of carpet for sustainability issues as well, because then you're into other issues of people that have got conditions that we can't necessarily see, where the sound starts bouncing all over the place because there's nothing to cushion it. And I think this is still an intersection that hasn't been really considered by by organisers. Not by every organiser, of course, but if you get rid of carpets, that's great for one reason, but where does that layer in with your inclusivity? And I think, the more that we expect of shows, the more that we're going to have these kind of conversations where we're thinking about, all right, what is going on here? If you take, I've forgotten her name, Helen Moon at Eventwell, doing a great job of bringing to the front about safe environments and spaces where people can go and they feel secure, and that's all good, and they've got people that can help them if they feel overwhelmed or whatever, that's great. But do not put it next to an exhibitor that's blasting out their sound. All of these things I think need more consideration, rather than we've just got all of these areas to fill and let's sell them, and we don't really think about it. I'm not sure how much design thought goes into when you've got salespeople selling space and then not considering what needs to go beside. Sorry, it's a bit of a rant, but it's not meant to be. It's
No,
meant to be
that's fine.
constructive.
And you pick up some really good points. With regard to the sound, I was at a show last year, I'm not going to name which one, no carpets. And I did speak to a couple of people who said that because of their own hearing impairment, it was very difficult to speak to somebody at a booth because the sound was just reflecting over bare walls, bare floor, and it was really difficult for them. So it is very real.
So they just come back onto the carpet issue and the recyclability of carpet. There are organisations and companies now actually heavily involved in trying to find how to recycle carpet. And at the moment, it's repurposing old carpet. It isn't a true closed recycling loop, although from what I understand, technologically, they're very close, because when you repurpose the long chain polymers, it actually damages the polymer, so you can't reuse it in the same way you did before. But from what I understand, there's a small gap to close on that. Some of the carpets are being reused for things. Bizarrely, I've shown a pair of sunglasses at EventTech Live that are made out of, the frames are made out of repurposed event carpet. There's furniture now being made from repurposed carpet. I think if the industry is obviously committed to trying to find a way of resolving the waste output, the waste stream from the carpet and floor coverings. And that's got to be good, because I think I tend to agree with all the points made. For those people who are neurodivergent and the echoiness and the harshness of the floor, when you're walking around a show without a carpet, it does knock the seven bells out of you. And if you're an exhibitor on a stand that hasn't got carpet, and I'll say that we did that at ETL last year in November, it does start to get to you, and you feel far more tired and exhausted at the end of the show. Psychologically, what does it do in terms of whether you're stepping onto or off a stand? Don't know. There is a long standing piece of research that said if you put a plinth of a certain height on a stand, it reduces the intent of people to step onto that stand, because they feel it creates a nominal barrier. You are clearly stepping off the hall walkways and aisles into somebody else's territory, so it's a conscious decision to step on. Pros and cons. Coloured carpet works. I've seen that when you took it for wayfinding, point you brought up before. When Confex and the event production show both moved out to Excel the first time, they had blue carpet for Confex and the green carpet for the event production show for the outdoor side. Makes sense. You kind of know which show you're in. But I was standing on Reed Carpet's stand with Keith, who's now at MJ, and we watched people walk down the aisle coming towards them, and we were standing there on the stand, and they're coming towards, and they stopped at the end of the blue carpet, turned round, and went back up another blue carpet, because psychologically, and they said it was happening all through the show, is people who were on the EPS side stayed within the green zone, and people who were in the in international Confex were stayed in the blue side. And he said there was only a very, very slight mixing of the two at the border, which I found really, I mean, it was fascinating to understand how the psychology of that works. But yeah, you could use it for wayfinding for some ways, but then I keep going back to my problem with anybody with colour deficiency. Unless it's clearly divided, you've got 12% of the population who may struggle with colour variations on carpets. But it's, as an experience, a show, and we've exhibited it with and without carpet. With a carpet is a much more pleasant experience. Absolutely, I would say 100%.
Well, I don't want to make it sound like we're hypercritical of all these little things that we feel are absolutely terrible. There's a lot of things that the shows get right, and there's a lot of things they do brilliantly. And obviously, there's little things that crop up that we feel could be slightly different. So, going back to what we started off with, this idea of they do coffee rave party wandering around doing a conga at 10 o'clock in the morning, not a great idea. We need to fix the things that could be better. Could it actually improve the experience to what is happening now? So just to reiterate what we covered. So for starters, better signage, so you know where you are and where you're going to. What else would you guys like to pick out?
The program. Can we just have a simple printed program? Because if you're inviting people to go to a choice of 80 sessions, but on a website or an app, you have to keep scrolling forever to find out. They're losing people. They're losing people that could be sitting in those sessions just because they give up the will to live. It takes too long.
And being printed matter shouldn't be a major problem because you can print on recycled paper with organic ink. So it's not a case of, oh my word, look at sustainability, this is awful. No, it can be done in a sustainable way. Mr. Richardson, what have you would like to add?
It's all well made. I think we've been through. I think it's simplicity, isn't it? It's all about making it the easiest possible experience, because every time somebody goes and has a difficult experience, navigation-wise or whatever it may be, or finding the right content, it's just another little chip to say, I'm not going to go. Oh, I went last year and it was I'll be better off sitting in the office and doing my day job than going and doing that. And you kind of need to turn that around to be, can't miss this, got to be there. And I think to some degree the focus has been building up the FOMO through content, and less. Funnily enough, it's in the Freeman report that was published, the Experience Trends report, where they were saying that the improvement aspect is active participation over passive watching. And they pick up things like confusing layouts are an issue, and inability to find specific vendors or content. It's got to be about ease, and ease for people will probably increase their willingness to participate and come back. And if they see exhibitors who are buzzing, then for people who are potentially exhibitors coming around the show, they're looking at, oh yeah, everything seems to be working. You've got lots of happy visitors. You've got lots of happy exhibitors. We want to be part of this, either as a visitor or an exhibitor. You're winning. And I think that's the challenge. Is we're given so much choice and so many things layered on top of each other that it becomes daunting, because for lots of people who are involved, they're spending a lot of time in this little ecosystem of this show as it builds up. So if you're an exhibitor, like we were, you get all the background and you want this for your meeting planner and this and this and this, and on it goes. So we're absolutely engrossed in this as part of our day-to-day work for probably months in advance. The visitor isn't. They they engage at the latter stage of the journey of this show, and they're getting the same level of input and complexity that the exhibitors are getting. So you can see how it might be a little bit of overload for lots of people. Like, I really can't be bothered trying to work on the app, or I can't be bothered trying to find out the content. I don't know. I mean, isn't it? I get it that it's probably cheaper to have an app than it is to print out 5,000 maps. But we're at a stage of development. Surely can we not have a print on demand map? If it's cost recovery, if you've got the app, if you'd rather have those, stick 50p in the slot and it spits you out a printed map. Off you
Yeah,
go.
I would pay for that every time.
Yeah,
Every
me
time.
too.
Just put that at the
Absolutely.
show. Just put it at the show inside the check-in area, and then I get the badge. I've got that done, and then I just press a little thing, squirts out. That's perfect. That's a brilliant idea, because that way all you're doing is just giving people what they want in the way that they want it. And I think that has to be surely the way that these events get um, designed. Because if you're not listening to people, then, as Paul says, you're going to lose them, and that's going to lead to a loss in income ultimately. But what we've identified today is that we need to do better, in terms of things are going well, but also we need to think of people that are visually impaired and hearing impaired amongst all of the other things we do. And we need to be mindful of anybody that isn't the way that we are when we're designing these things.
So we don't need a revolution, we need evolution. Let's make things better that we already have.
Yeah, and doing it by talking to the people who are actively engaging at the moment. So talk to the visitors. And I don't know how you do this, but how do you find and how do you get information from people who don't come but might? I mean, that's a will o' the wisp job, isn't it? But it's at least get a baseline, in terms of thank you for coming to the show as an exhibitor or a visitor. What do you want more of? And also split that into two. Have the conscious discipline to say content absorbers and potential buyers. And okay, there's going to be a blurring of boundaries there. But if you could say, right, these people are coming to just educate, to understand, to talk, to network, to grow their knowledge. These are people who are actually coming with the intention of looking for suppliers who are going to do stuff. And I know I've just pre-regged for Confax. And there's the list of criteria you have to register against, and what you are and who you are and what you're looking for. But then take that forward, do more on the back of that. Those people that came, because they've now got my data, they've got that. They could then do a post-event survey and come out to me and say, hey guys, you came down to the show. What was the bits that stood out for you? Were there any things that made the experience painful, problematic, or difficult for you? How do you think we could improve this? Even if somebody did that, the psychological effect of being bothered enough to ask me my opinion, you go up a notch. Oh, right, that's good. They care. They're bothered. And if they make a couple of those improvements and you see them the following year, hey.
I would actually go as far as to say, do an exit survey. So when somebody leaves the hall, and then they're actually leaving for good, not just simply nipping out for a coffee, food, or a cigarette, but actually have just a piece of paper where they could write their name, email address, and then a scale of 1 to 10. 1, I had an awful experience. 10, I had a great experience. Collect it there and then, instead of expecting someone to get through to their inbox to respond to something.
Well, here's where the hotels have got it right. You could, and this is where technology could help you. You know, the little 4 happy face, not happy face, 5 of them. So you've got a mean down the middle. How did you enjoy the show? What are the 3, 6 questions we need to ask somebody they're exiting? The exit survey's got the little pad, hit the buttons. Now, obviously, it kind of throws bias in there because it's people who are happy to engage with tech and blah, blah, blah. But at least you've got a baseline. You've got something that you can look at and say, right, okay, everybody liked this, but they thought there was not enough content or too much content, or the aisles were too narrow, so I couldn't get through, or whatever it may be, or too many coffee stalls. But at least you've got something you can go, right, okay, what can we improve for next year? Some of them you might look at and go, well, that's not commercially viable to do that. So that's not going to happen. Some might be, yeah, that actually could be the thing that makes it a better experience for everybody next time.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's a nice, simple way of doing things as well, because you're capturing people right at the end. You're getting their real time thinking about what's been going on. For the ones that don't, you can still extrapolate from what you've got. But sending me a survey a few days later, or even the same day, and then sending me reminders that I haven't completed the survey, does nothing for me. And also giving me the incentive to go in a 2 week, 3 week, 4 week, 5 week, 6 week, 7 week, 8 week, 9 week, 10 week, 11 week, 12 week, 13 week, 14 week, 15 week, 16 week, 17 week, 18 week, 19 week, 20 week, 21 week, 22 week, 23 week, 24 week, 25 week, 26 week, 27 week, 28 week, 29 week, 30 week, 31 week, 32 week, 33 week, 34 week, 35 week, 36 week, 37 week, 38 week, 39 week, 40 week, 41 week, 42 week, 43 week, 44 week, 45 week, 46 week, 47 week, 48 week, 49 week, 50 week, 51 week, 52 week, 53 week, 54 week, 55 week, 56 week, 57 week, 58 week, 59 week, 60 week, 61 we in a prize draw is still not doing anything for me because I don't have the time. And most people really don't. And they can't, you could do little focus groups afterwards with people that you think, yeah, okay, let's have a talk to them. You've already got data from those people that were filling the registration form in and then bailed out. So there's another place to go. You got data from exhibitors that decide that they're not going to renew the following year. So if you take all of those little pools of data bits, then you'd have enough. You don't need to bang out a survey that nobody's interested in doing. And why? Again, the simplicity. If we're going down the tech route and you're making everything tech, then don't email me something. Just give me a little thing that I can press because I'm happy to do that. I do it. I do it in shopping stores. I do it, especially doctor surgeries or whatever, pharmacy. Anybody that's given good service, yeah, I'll tick it. It's not a problem. And with a few extra questions, like you say, Paul, we could easily do that. It doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to be considered. These people are busy people. We know that. They sign up late. We know that. They come to the show for specific reasons. Let's not get in their way. Why we'd expect somebody to go, yep, I might win something in a prize draw, therefore I fill in the survey, is nonsense. And if you are going to do a survey that way, sorry, my final bit of rant, Bob, before I go, is if you are going to do that, keep the survey really simple and short. Don't say it's going to take 5 minutes and then 20 minutes later I'm still going, because that really annoys me. And the reason that I carry on and finish it is quite simply because I spent 15 minutes on this thing already. I want it to end because otherwise I've just wasted a load of time that doesn't help anyone. Right, rant over.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the thing. Having take part in this survey and you have a chance to win a pair of very thin, badly made company socks with a logo on it, it doesn't help anybody. It's not an incentive.
Yeah, we get those for Christmas presents. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Let's bring this to the end. But before we finish, is a little announcement, which is the team will be recording an episode of This Week in Events at International Confex on the last day. So if anybody wants to come and listen to us, if you can bear it, then please come and join us. We'll be at the First Sight Media studio. So please do come and join us.
And that date is the 26th of February for those people that don't know when the show is on. 26th of February. And what time is it, Bob? What time are you on?
Yes, we are on at. You're so professional at this that you're catching me out. This is awful. I should be more prepared.
12 o'clock, I think you said.
Um,
Or did I imagine that?
Nope, you didn't imagine it. I've double checked my calendar, and we're down between 12 and 1 o'clock.
Right, so 12 till 1 on Thursday, the 26th of February at International Confex at Excel London, and go and find people from This Week in Events who will be broadcasting live via First Sight Media.
You're such a good host. I don't even know why I'm bothering. You're doing it next time. Yes. And please be assured there will be no congas, coffee raves, or anybody walking around with bottles of beer or wine or holding wine glasses at 10 o'clock in the morning on the second day.
And just in case it didn't get mentioned, First Sight Media stand is stand C10C. So check that on your app and you should be able to find us without any problem.
Right, I quit. I'll let you two take over for next episode. It's fine. I don't mind.
No, you do a great job, Bob. You're keep us all on track.
The master of this.
You did, of course, create. Yeah, and this is your creation. This is your baby. So, we're just glad that Event Planner News is going well, and you're getting more people coming to the site, whether they want to come for daily news or whether they want to come to the journal part, which has got all sorts of other good things on there, articles by guest authors, etc., etc. And then, of course, you can come up to date with all the latest podcast editions and go back. You can go back at least 6 months and see what we were talking about then.
Oh, you're embarrassing me now.
Listen to us banging on about the same old things.
Yeah. Yes, I'm sure when we first started, I'm sure within the first few episodes, we just complained bitterly about how awful event maps and layouts were. So, but we're not going to stop until they fix it. tough.
Well, that's right. And by having these kind of honest conversations, we're not fluff. It's straight. This is what we like. This is what we don't like. And hopefully that has an impact on influencing people in the way they think about things as well. So, and if people have got comments and they fundamentally disagree with what we've been saying today or for any of the episodes, then Bob, you've always said they're welcome to come on board and basically have a chat. So yeah, it's all open.
Yes,
It's
if
to help
anybody
the
wants to,
industry, not
yeah, if anybody wants to get some feedback, go to the Event Planning News Journal community section where you can give feedback on podcast or any other topic, and we'll happily mention you and ensure you take the blame. So yes, so I think we'll bring it to an end. Thank you very much, you guys, for taking part. I think we've hopefully been as constructive as we have not been.
We're always constructive. We're never going to
It's called
stop learning.
constructive,
It's in our DNA.
constructive criticism.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just to help
what
the
it is.
industry go forward. There we go.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so that's it. Thank you very much, guys.